The first step in the CCP's efforts to improve its governance was that it realized it had to modernize itself. It would not be good enough to simply add new policy items on their policy agenda if they didn't have the means to implement it. And this is the problem that the CCP had in the end of the 90s. They were burdened by an antiquated ideology that was riddled with contradictions and full of these Maoist cliches that was really confusing and demoralizing, I would think, to a lot of CCP members. The organizational structure was also outdated. The heavy focus on secret party cells was starting even then to become problematic because it encouraged abuse of authority and corruption. And in addition, the level of expertise and knowledge among the party members was very low and was not sufficient to carry out the kind of policies that the CCP wanted. They needed a cadre corps that was educated in the modern sciences of how do you manage social policy, how do you manage very technical issues about economics, and then again in the international arena, they needed more sophisticated thinkers and officials who knew how to deal with foreign policy. Starting around 2002 really is, I think, the key date. The 16-party Congress adopted this new governing party paradigm, and this came out largely as a result of years of effort by Jiang Zemin and the leadership at that time to push through what was then known as the three represents. And this concept provided ideological cover for this shift, this paradigm shift, and especially the third represent, which says that the CCP now needs to represent the fundamental interests of the masses. That is really the statement for the CCP taking on this governing party role. And so that was a very key decision when the CCP adopted the three represents as part of the guiding ideology. It showed that the CCP leadership endorsed this vision. The pursuit of this paradigm has been extremely energy intensive and I would say very difficult for the party. It is, again, by the CCP's own reckoning, this is the first paradigm shift since 1921. It's very significant, and the demands being called for are enormous. When you think about where the party was in the 90s, I mean, Deng Xiaoping was still fighting leftists, and there's still a very powerful voice arguing for a return to Maoist thought and politics. And we see the vision of what the party realized they needed to, where they needed to be at to carry out this new policy agenda. It's a huge, huge gulf. Also part of this process has been a strengthening of the central party bureaucracy. I think this is a really key development that we see flowering under Xi Jinping. It's important to note that what we're seeing under Xi is really the culmination of trends that began under Hu with this paradigm shift. Under Hu, you saw the strengthening of several key central party units like the Central Party School, the Central Party Research Office, the General Office. Numerous organizations like these began to take on more and more responsibilities in mentoring or providing briefings to the Politburo and taking on the drafting role and the work of developing a lot of these documents, these regulations, this ideology, all that was done by the central party bureaucracy. So they have played a critical role in enabling a lot of these changes, and under Xi, they're playing an even bigger role through all these small groups that Xi has built. Jiang Zemin himself said, and you read the 2002 16-Party Congress report, there was a call for the party to start moving towards a rule-based system. And the first step for that was for the party to start implementing a rule-based governing system inside itself, which is what you saw a lot of activity focused on, was issuing these rules and regulations about how do you do decision-making, how do you standardize inside the party voting processes and appraisals and things like that. So that was really, I think, the first step for the party to try to carry out this movement towards a more rule-based system of, or a law-based system of rule. The reason why it's so essential for the party to carry this out is it is indeed, I think, a life and death struggle. If the party cannot make this change, it will continue to lose support. It will continue to suffer problems of massive corruption, and the problem with corruption is that increasingly it's damaging economic development and growth, unlike in the previous eras where I think the party senior elite measured or weighed corruption at the local level with the staggering economic growth and tended to tolerate corruption for the sake of maintaining high growth rates. Well, that option is gone now. The only way that they're going to sustain long-term growth is they have to improve the efficiency of the economy, carry out this rebalancing, find a way to get these officials to do their jobs and to make, again, more technically complex policy decisions about how they invest and what kind of services that they're going to build up versus just building more factories. There's 2 points that I would like to underscore when we're thinking about all these issues. First off, in my view, it is very difficult to understand what is going on in Beijing today and what is going on with the Xi administration if you don't understand this paradigm shift. Hu Jintao set up Xi Jinping to do what Xi Jinping is doing. If it were not for what Hu Jintao and the central leadership was doing throughout the 2000s, Xi would not be positioned to start executing all these policies and changes that he's doing right now. So you need to understand this paradigm shift in order to understand what is going on in Beijing today. Second point I would like to underscore is the importance for students of Chinese politics of understanding some of the basics of their political system, the ideology, the terms that they use, the planning process, the whole method of all these various types of meetings and the study of how all these documents come together and how they relate to each other. There is a system, there's a process, and I hope through my book to contribute to a refocusing and better understanding of a lot of these very critical, fundamental elements of the Chinese political system.